October Summit is the virtual live summit. Is this? Huh? 11th? Good morning and welcome to our 11th live virtual Transform Westside Summit. Thank you to our returning viewers. If those of you are watching for the first time, thank you, welcome, and we'll talk more about our program and what this is about in just a few minutes. But doing these live virtual broadcasts, we've been really thinking through how to lift up our impact partners and talk about all the great work occurring despite all that's going on with COVID. We're going to talk about that too. But this morning, we're really grateful to be broadcasting live from the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, named after a great Westside entrepreneur, great Atlanta entrepreneur, Herman Russell. And so the Russell family has founded this used to be the headquarters, this 50,000 square foot building to celebrate and lift up innovation, especially Black entrepreneurship. And we're so grateful to Jay Bailey, who's the leader, and all the great programming they do. And we've broadcast it live out of here a few times. And what you're seeing is I'm walking down the hall and some of the great pictures of their programming that's been obviously curtailed somewhat because of COVID. But once we get through that, and we want to thank, and there's a picture you can see Jay Bailey along in a broadcast from the Russell Center. And one picture I want to show you, we were rehearsing yesterday. It's a great picture that you can see the roof. So we're all back together again once we're through COVID, great rooftop that's looking out over the west side. And so we have a broadcast this morning. In our last live broadcast, we're at the Booker T. Washington High School, and one of the most requested topic is around what's going to happen doing remote learning. So we got a very special broadcast this morning. We got a couple of our parent Avengers, our parents, Sherry and Wykeisha, along with Dr. Ford, to really lean into and talk about how's all that working. We look forward to getting your questions. But one thing we really wanted to lift up and celebrate and also appreciate is the Russell Center. So we're going to cut to a short video to tell you more about the Russell Center, and then we're going to come back and talk about more about our program this morning. So let's just cut to that video, and we'll be back in our live broadcast in just a couple minutes.
What it means to me to be an RCI stakeholder is it means I am taking stake in building my legacy, building a revolution that I like to think of as the potato chip revolution that starts right here in this building and is going to expand beyond the borders of this country. And I am so proud to be a part of what's happening here, and we can do it under one roof. That is phenomenal. We can expand it beyond not just this roof, creating generational wealth for my family, but then also I have an opportunity to take a stake in the economic growth in the city of Atlanta and building my economic growth with my people, and I think that's phenomenal. So doing business with each other, and not just beyond the city, but just throughout the world. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm so proud to take stake in that. So being a stakeholder means all that to me and more. I am Dondre Anderson. I'm the CEO of Symphony Potato Chips, the world's only gourmet seasoned potato chip on the planet, and I'm a proud stakeholder of the Russell Center.
The legacy that I hope to leave behind is I want my legacy to be tied to the legacy of what we build here at the Russell Center. The Russell Center is going to make tremendous impact on entrepreneurship in the city of Atlanta and nationally. I think we're going to be a template for how this can be done right, and how we can really build our communities, and I'm just honored to be a part of that. Hi, my name is Terry Bradley. I am the founder and CEO of Brown Toy Box, and I am a founding 100 member of the Russell Center.
RCIE has had a huge impact on my business because I've been in business for 7 years, and I've been to several organizations, conferences, and things where people talk a good talk, but then there's either no execution or they leave you with a challenge, but then don't help you in terms of how to overcome that challenge. Every challenge that we've come across and we've sought the Russell Center to help us get over that challenge, they were either able to point us in the right direction, give us advice, connect us to the right people to put action behind the words. The Russell Center has done so much for Puff Cuff, the company. Hi, my name is Sita Lash, and I am the founder and inventor of the Puff Cuff hair clamp, and I am a proud stakeholder at the Russell Center.
All right, thank you again for that video. And if you want to learn more about the Russell Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship, please, they got a great website, so please visit that website. And to talk a little bit about our program, a little bit about the Westside Future Fund, if you don't have it up on our website, is a bulletin. So if you're watching the broadcast, please grab the bulletin. It's a PDF, and it has our program this morning, speaker bios, and lots of great information. And one of the things we always want to start with is, unfortunately, we're still in probably the worst pandemic in over 100 years in our country and in the world, COVID-19. And one of the things that's in our bulletin, if you have any symptoms around COVID, any questions around COVID, we got some great healthcare partners, the Good Samaritan, the Yancey Clinic, and you can call 404-523-6571. So if you have any symptoms or any questions around COVID about testing, and that information is in our bulletin. And one of the things we're just reminded of are the consequences of this healthcare emergency. And it started as a healthcare emergency, and we're going to bring up a slide that really shows the impact of COVID, especially how hard it's hitting our Westside communities in Fulton County, 30314. And you can see on the slide, it just came up on the screen, that the number of cases both in Fulton County and then on the Westside communities, the Horace Westside communities. And you see, the good news is the rate of cases is going down. A few weeks ago, that was going the wrong way. And so one of the things that's so important, and I think we all know this now, is to practice social distancing. So during our broadcast this morning, even though I'm not wearing a mask right now, we're 6 feet apart, and during the rehearsals and everything, we are wearing our masks, and the crew here, thank you crew, is practicing wearing masks, because that's so important to cut down the transmission of the virus. And we can see it's going in good direction with cases going down. But unfortunately, and it's especially hit the West Side hard, you can see the unemployment rate on the West Side is higher than the city of Atlanta average and higher than the state average. And so some of the surveying work that we have done, indicates that it's over 30% related to tourism and hospitality industry, which is still unfortunately just pretty much shut down. And the other part about that unemployment is especially acute now because unfortunately, the U.S. Congress has not passed an extension of unemployment benefits. And we know that for a lot of folks, especially on the West Side, the benefits ran out at the end of July. And so we're very concerned that the consequences of that, and for a lot of folks, their savings is just not paying rent. And so we know that one of the consequences is that. I can tell you in the Westside Future Fund, if folks are unemployed due to COVID, and if you're renting any units from us, I know some of our other partners, we're going to have rental assistance and ensure people can stay in their housing. But the COVID, unfortunately, the jobless has also led to an uptick in violence. We've seen that in the West Side of domestic violence and unfortunately murder. And so we often say it's kind of the consequence of healthcare led to joblessness, led to despair, led to more violence. So we are all leaning in this, working together, and appreciate all our partners that are working so hard to address the consequences of COVID. And one of those consequences is, the schools are doing virtual learning, which we're going to talk more about in our broadcast this morning. So coming back and telling you now, especially if you're a first-time viewer, a little bit more about the Westside Future Fund, and thank you for a first-time viewer for watching. And so again, my name is John Ahman. I'm the president and CEO of the Westside Future Fund, and we host this virtual broadcast. We used to be doing these. We hope to be back at the gathering spot doing these twice a month. But a little bit about the Westside Future Fund as a not-for-profit. We have as a vision kind of reflecting on a lot of great West Side heroes, and certainly Dr. Martin Luther King. So we have as a vision, how do we help build a community Dr. King would be proud to call home? Reflecting, I'm pointing to my, right on the broadcast, but Dr. King's home, last family home in Sunset, and he obviously went to Booker T. Washington High School as well as Morehouse College. And so a lot of great social justice heroes for our country and our world from the West Side. And also the Westside Future Fund, we're governed by a board of directors, and it's a volunteer board of directors. Thank you, volunteer board of directors. Our chair is Dr. Beverly Tatum, and one of our board members, Sylvia Russell, the late Herman Russell's wife, so thank you for all the support of our board of directors. And you can see we got a board that reflects kind of the diversity of Atlanta and also folks who live on the West Side as well. So thank you, Westside Future Fund Board of Directors. And I got a great team, and everything you're seeing is thanks to a great team with the Westside Future Fund. And so there's the team. So thank you, team, because a lot gets done that I talk a lot about, but it's thanks to a lot of great support. And thank you. So thank you, team. And also, even though we're not together physically, we really want to encourage folks to get engaged. And so if you're watching, and especially if you're a first-time viewer and like, man, this is great. Let me get some other people watching. Here are our social media handles. And we've also, excited to bring you back on our live broadcast, our West Side Senior Community Correspondent, Benjamin Early. Benjamin, are you there? Out there, Benjamin?
How's it going this morning?
Going great. Now, where are you this morning?
Today, I'm happy to be broadcasting live from the At Promise Center here at 740 Cameron Alexander. We're just excited, and we're reaching out to folks, telling you to get involved on social media, get involved with us. We really would like to hear from you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you have a YouTube account, join our YouTube followers, and let's talk.
And this is live, right, Ben? This is not pre-recorded. Like
This is very live, John. This is very live. So.
And I keep looking down at the TV screen to see, and they keep reminding me to look back up at the camera. So sorry about that. And then, one of the things that we also want to give a big shout out to another, great hero from Atlanta, unfortunately, passed recently, John Lewis. And there's a great documentary about him, Good Trouble. And we're very lucky to, thanks to some support from support of the Westside Future Fund, Katie Barksdale, but we have a special screening that you can go buy and watch Good Trouble, but some of the proceeds actually go to our Home on the West Side program. We'll talk more about that, but it's a great documentary, a very inspiring documentary. And then we'll be announcing soon, but the filmmakers themselves, who are great filmmakers around social justice movies, we're going to be able to have a special in October Q&A with them, a Zoom hosted Q&A, but you only be able to talk to them and be a part of that if you buy a ticket through that site. So please, you can also check our website for that. But I've watched it. It's a great movie, very inspiring movie about fighting for change, but in alignment with nonviolence and other great principles. And so coming back, to our broadcast, is that one of the things we always do to ground our broadcast, and for our first-time viewers, is a devotion. And our devotions are led by both professional ministers as well as people from our community. And this morning we thought, and he volunteered, thank you, Taylor Meredith is going to, in just a moment, give a pre-recorded devotion message. He did it yesterday. Thank you, Taylor. And so the whole crew here at TMPAV is part of Taylor, the founder of TMPAV. And for those that are first time watching, we always take inspiration for our devotions from Nehemiah, which is in the Old Testament. And the story of Nehemiah, the cupbearer for the king, felt called back to Jerusalem, which had unfortunately become very unsafe for its residents who were suffering. And a big part of that was rebuilding the wall so they would be safe. But then it was really, for me, reading the story about how you really govern together based on a common set of principles, a common set of values. So we take inspiration from the story of Nehemiah. And I always, to ground the devotion, read a statement. And I'm going to read that devotion statement now, as soon as I find it quickly. It's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of our community. Recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort, the time at the beginning of our meeting is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful, with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. So please, you can check out Taylor's full bio in our bulletin. And so we're going to cut to that devotion, then we're going to come back to our live broadcast.
Good morning. As a Westside resident, neighbor, and business owner, I'd like to take the time to thank the Westside Future Fund, John Almond, Sonia Dawson, and the Westside Future Fund staff, its board, partners, and the entire Westside community for the opportunity to be on this platform to share with you. I'd like to thank my TMPAV team and our partners, Icon Filmworks, Red Clay Hill, Lucy Entertainment, for helping me be a part of this broadcast production. For all of us that regularly view the Summit broadcast and attended summits pre-COVID, you know that this devotional moment is about us reflecting on the story of Nehemiah. Being a part of the summits for some time now, I think John and Dan did an excellent job choosing the right story out of the biblical text for reflecting on our Westside community during these bi-weekly broadcasts. The story of Nehemiah fits the bill metaphorically for our reflections for the West Side, because the West Side is a community, largely black and brown, that is purposely being shaped and actively being reconstructed with the hope of a future that is equitable, diverse, and charitable for legacy residents, the private sector, and the diverse, more wealthier residents moving in. Like Nehemiah's struggle in the third phase of the reconstruction of Jerusalem, creating this on the West Side is not without its challenges. In fact, I don't know if it's ever been done successfully and sustainably. Usually, when the private sector and the wealthy folks move in, it pushes the folks who can't afford it out, and that's just the economics of the situation. In the story of Nehemiah, when he learned his community was in trouble, he fasted and prayed. Obviously, this being a biblical story, that fasting and praying proved huge because this is what happened next. Nehemiah was doing his job, bringing the king his wine, and the king saw he was sad. He looked him up and down and he said, "Well, you're not physically ill, so this must be sadness of the heart." Then the king asked the bartender, Nehemiah, "What is wrong?" I'm guessing the king didn't like his cupbearer, Nehemiah, being sad while serving him his wine. Or Nehemiah's fasting and praying gave him special powers. So when he entered the king's presence, serving the king his wine, the king would notice him, notice his feelings, and then ask him about it. Or, more reasonably, Nehemiah had a relationship with the king, a friendship. And when the king saw his friend with a troubled heart, the king inquired. The latter is what we are called to do as neighbors, as the human race, and it is how we can build a successful, sustainable West Side that will set the example to the world. The West Side is a community of wealthy history, a history with folks from here that have altered the course of humanity, past, present, and even into the future. This is a black and brown community with enough space for the private sector, wealthier residents, diverse residents. However, it is how we build relationships with each other. It is how we intentionally come together, building these relationships that will be the foundation to creating a diverse, equitable, and most important, charitable community where we all have a place and live together in peace and contentment. Charity cannot be labeled as anything but charity, and charity is love. Love is what love does. And if the love is real, it is working in your favor even after you are gone. If the West Side is not to be another statistic of gentrification, then I believe that relationship and charity must be the cornerstone of the reconstruction of the West Side. Let's let compassion take the West Side by storm. Let's let charity, justice, fairness, and equality be the driving forces in our community. Let's have a mind to work like the people of Jerusalem in the Nehemiah story to build this community right here and set the example for the world. God bless you and thank you.
Wow, thank you, Taylor. That was a great devotion And just, my own personal reflection for a moment, troubled heart. I mean, I'm feeling a troubled heart. I'm sure all of us are with all that's going on. And really talking about being in relation. One thing that I really appreciate, I'm very grateful for the work on living is back to those, kind of first two principles, love thy God and love thy neighbor. One thing I've really appreciated is being in relation with your neighbor, knowing your neighbor, back to when you talked about the king, knowing and being in relation with the cupbearer, friendship, to want to do something about your friend when you see them sad or suffering. And suffering stirs that compassion in our heart. One of the quotes I always love is Gandhi's quote, is compassion is a muscle you have to exercise. And certainly I know from my work, and I'm grateful for it, that compassion muscle to help thy neighbor, and reminding us, about a charitable heart. And one of the great, you talked about, gentrification and what can happen when people from the community can't stay in their own community, especially when land prices go up, with gentrification. And and Nehemiah, when when the residents can't kind of pay the rent, so to speak, Nehemiah just demanded the land be turned over, because he had those special powers. Just people forgive the debt. Well, we don't have that ability, so we want to thank a lot of our donors, because we've been raising charitable funds and public funds with our mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, to ensure residents who are from the community can stay in the community. We'll talk more about that later in our Home on the Westside program. But thank you for lifting that message up. And back to charity, one of the things I didn't mention in the beginning of the broadcast is the Home Depot. We have a Home Depot gift card, so if you pre-registered for our summit, you still have a few more minutes to do it, you'll be eligible to win a Home Depot gift card. And so thank you, Home Depot Foundation. We'll be announcing this gift card winner toward the end of our broadcast, but you still have a few more minutes. If you haven't registered, you can do it on our website and be eligible to win this gift card. We randomly do it, and so we'll know the name toward the end of our broadcast. But coming back to our program this morning, and for those viewers that are first time, the historic neighborhoods we're focused on in our collective work right now, the high school is the Booker T. Washington High School, and a couple weeks ago we broadcast live from this historic high school, the first black high school not only in Atlanta and Georgia but the Southeast. It was pretty inspiring to be in the hallways of the Booker T. Washington High School. But we got a lot of feedback and interest out of that broadcast. So we want to keep on talking, because at that broadcast, school hadn't started, and we were talking with all the Booker T. Washington principals, an amazing group. We have one here with us this morning live, Dr. Ford, about how that's all going to work, because this has never happened before, all the students learning online. So we said we want to come back and talk more about this in this broadcast, about how that's working, knowing that school would now be in. I think it's been in now for 2 weeks. And so for this morning's broadcast, I'm very pleased that we got two of our parent Avengers, Wykeisha and Sherry, who are regular attenders of our summit, both virtual and live, and they are very active in fighting for their schools and for their children, and getting other parents in the Booker T. Washington cluster. And the Booker T. Washington cluster, for those first-time viewers, includes the Hollis Innovation Academy, which is pre-K through 8. That feeds right into the Booker T. Washington High School. It includes Emmanuel Jones and Tuskegee, which feed into Brown Middle School, which then feeds into the Booker T. Washington High School. And I was lucky enough yesterday to meet the new superintendent, Dr. Herring, and along with our two board members, Dr. Beverly Tatum and Sylvia Russell, our partnership model. We started our partnership model with Hollis a couple years ago. It's really working, so now it includes Booker T. Washington, and it's going to include the rest of the high school. So I'm pleased to announce this morning that our partnership model is being extended to the whole cluster, and very exciting. And thank you to the leadership of Beverly and Sylvia, and thank you, Dr. Herring, for supporting that partnership expansion to the other Booker T. Washington cluster schools. But this morning for our live broadcast, I've got, and again, on either side, Sherry and our principal, Dr. Ford. Hello. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ford. All right, you can see, and we got Wykeisha coming in via Zoom, because she's got a home full of children. And so do we have Wykeisha with us? All right.
Yes, I'm here.
And typically, announcing one thing I already skipped right through doing, and I apologize, is and I'm reminded, because Wykeisha, you always announce yourself as the future mayor, and Benjamin, and we still have Benjamin, because one thing we do in our summits is to get to know each other. We ask everyone to do their names. And one of the things we want to do, because we can't do that now, and that was a great way back to getting to know each other as friends at our Transform Life Summits, everyone stands up, gives their name and their affiliation, so we can just get to know each other. And so if you're watching the live broadcast, because we want to, still connect, and so put in your name right now. So if you're watching the live broadcast on our social media feeds, put in your name, because we'd love to just know we're all out there, know we're all still connected. And so Benjamin, do you see some names coming online, some folks who are watching?
I do, John. We got a lot of folks tuning in right now. Shout out to Peggy Gibson joining us on YouTube. We've got Veronica Squire. Shout out. Hey, Veronica, how you doing?
All
Good
right.
morning to all you guys over at Good Sam. George Dusenberry.
George Dusenberry. All right. Trust for Public
yeah.
Lands. Thank you, George.
Got a few folks. Deanna Palmer Price, thank you for joining. We appreciate it. Yeah, definitely follow us on social. Shout out to who you are joining with. If you're watching with a group, if you're watching with your family, that's preferred. The more viewers, the better. But definitely talk to us. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you, and we want to share your story. So drop your name, say good morning. It's the virtual version of passing the mic.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I also want to, thank one of our charitable benefactors, Chick-fil-A Foundation. Thank you. Dan sent a text this morning wishing us well, a nice prayer. And thank you to Rodney Bullard, who serves on our board. And we do have Chick-fil-A with us. Thank you. But coming back to, really talking about what we want to talk about this morning is just how it's going, how with the online learning now having started, just how it's working. So I'm really pleased to have Sherry and Wykeisha with us along with Dr. Ford. And I thought I would start my first question with Sherry. And now that school has been in and I know you've got a couple that graduate from Booker T, but you still got a son too, and so talk to folks about how it's going, Sherry. Like what has been your experience the last couple of weeks? Like how you think it's working?
The first day was scary. The first day was real scary. It rained on the first day, and we didn't know what to expect on the first day. So the Zoom was going in and out. Eventually, the third day, it got a little better. And it more or less with virtual learning, I realized as a parent, I was on the front line to really navigate this thing. And I feel like I was on a mission and I had something to accomplish. But it was, after a few days, it got better for learning, for virtual learning. For me, it got better.
How was it connecting with the teachers, and were you able to get help, and how did that work?
Well, my son in the 4th grade at Hollis Innovation, Tylen Belil, his teacher, Miss Nerchia and Miss Trinell, they were pretty good. They were really given the training for the Zooms and how you get on. So they were really good in far as helping. But if a child get kicked out, they would eventually notice that the child was not in class.
Okay.
So they were able to call and see why the child was not in and kind of coach the parent into getting back into Zoom. Because in the beginning, we had a lot of kicking out. Zoom apparently was shut down in some parts of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And it rained very bad that day. But the teacher, my son's teacher, she was pretty good at getting us leveled, and it's basically the parents had to train their kids Zoom. You basically learning. It's a whole new mission, and you accomplish a few things. We're in the 2nd week of learning. It's better. It's a lot. We're gonna be doing. It might be the new norm, so we have to get accustomed to it.
Yeah, it's the new norm for a bit. And I know you work real closely with Wykeisha, supporting each other. And how's it working for you, Wykeisha? What's been your experience?
So my experience has been the same as Sherry. The first couple of days was very confusing, and later it got a lot better. I have a great relationship with my Principal Weems, and me and Sherry do share the Booker T. Washington principal, Miss Young, as well. So they have been really good at communicating and letting us know that things are going to work out. There was some technical glitches. Now for me, I have 5 kids logging on at one time, so the connectivity can be challenging at times. But overall, we work through it together. I do Zoom training with my kids every night.
All right. Well, I know, and you've got a few children you're really supporting there, and I know you're really leaning into that. And how's it been for you really connecting with the teachers? How's that been working, Wykeisha?
Well, I always have great relationships with my kids' teachers. So the teachers have been 100% supportive. And they just let us know, hey, this is going on. We get it. Have some patience. And we'll get through this together.
Yeah. Well, I know, we've got, and thank you again for being here, Dr. Ford. I know you're probably thinking, I got to get going with school soon, so thank you. Yeah. But what are how's it been for you? I mean, when we talked a couple weeks ago, we talked about the importance of all the parents getting connected, the students getting connected. So how do you think it's working now?
Well, I do want to say shout out to Ms. Sherry and Ms. Howe that's online, because they are really giving the example of just how much the parents have to do and how connected they have to be, how involved they are. I mean, they're just a model for parenting in terms of being so engaged in that process of getting your students online. And just like they said, it was frustrating the first couple of days. We felt it on our side because the first day of school, Zoom went out citywide, and it was just like, of all days, why the first day? So we really were stressed. I think we felt it on both sides, the school side and the parent side. But like they said, we were on the phone, calling parents, receiving a whole lot of phone calls from parents, and really trying to help them because they really, really want their kids to participate.
And how do you, because I know one of the big things y'all were really pushing on was making sure everyone, all the students, with their parents were registering, how do you feel like that's going? Do you feel like you got all your students connected, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so looking at our numbers, we are ticking around 80% of our kids getting connected and online. So there's a 20% gap. And one of the challenges, and I think Ms. Sherry and I were talking about, is that connectivity and being online is such an essential part.
Right.
And there are some challenges in our community. There's some, gaps that have to be filled, because this is really required in order for our kids to engage into schooling. So at some points, there are folks that need hotspots. The hotspots are going out.
Right.
They're inconsistent in terms of the Wi-Fi, and it's putting a lot of gaps. And so we're calling parents, trying to solve problems and remove barriers for that, because, it's a challenge sometimes that's larger than the school.
Yeah, so what we're saying, right, is the schools right now are not open due to COVID.
Right.
And what you're saying is that, one thing is that a lot of the families here, especially on the west side,
yes.
You may have quite a few people living together, and it can be hard to focus on online learning, right? And so you're saying 20% of your families you're concerned aren't maybe connected yet?
Right.
Are you in touch with those 20%?
Yes, we are in touch with them. We pull our reports every Monday and Wednesday and Friday, and call throughout the week. But something that Ms. Howe said is that, when you have multiple children on one hotspot and trying to pull, it can cause problems and slow down. So we recognize that there's some challenges with that.
And I know one of the things, and you mentioned, if unfortunately they can't offer at home a good online learning environment, where can they go?
Yeah, so there are some places around the community, and I know Ms. Sherry can talk a little bit more about that, but there's places around the community. I know At Promise is working with some of our students. I saw one of our parents at the Walmart last week or earlier this week. And
at the Walmart?
Yeah, at the Walmart, yeah.
Doing the online learning at the Walmart?
No, I had to go and get something to eat.
About to say,
but I walked in and I saw one of my parents, and she was telling me about how they're up at the At Promise Center getting support at the At Promise.
And that's a good, because one thing I want to thank Sylvia Russell, worked with the Booker T. Washington principals and Justin Carr on our team to survey some of the locations that could accommodate children. In fact, you said that would have Wi-Fi for connection, and one of those places is at the At Promise Center in English Avenue. And we thank the Atlanta Police Foundation and Chris 180 and so many of the partners at the At Promise Center, and that's where Benjamin is this morning. But we thought, and you teed it up great, thank you, Dr. Ford. We got a video from Craig Lucy talking a little bit about what's happening at the At Promise Center. I think we want to cut to that pre-recorded video right now, and then we're going to come back to our live broadcast.
Hey all of you Westside Future Funders, Craig Lucy here, and we are inside the At Promise Center in the historic English Avenue area of the West Side. And over here behind me you can see the glassed-in areas. These are classrooms, and walk with me this way. If you recall, we did one of our virtual summits inside the At Promise Center. We had our crew set up right over here, and John Alman was right in this area, and we had our panels, and we had our panel there and John Amman actually walked right up this ramp, and we wanted to point this out to you again. Our youth are at promise, not at risk. We want to read this at promise mission statement for you. It says, our dedication to the at promise model will help create pathways to success for youth in Atlanta and reduce the number of young people who negatively experience the criminal justice center. Now, the At Promise Center has really had to step up during this pandemic. So walk with me over here, and we're going to talk to LaShawn Rogers, who is the case manager. So keep coming. I'm going to sit down with LaShawn. And given we are in this pandemic, put my mask back on. But LaShawn and I are going to talk a little bit more loud so that you all can hear us. And so LaShawn, as a case manager here at the At Promise Center, explain how you all really have stepped up to help these folks who are working, but they have kids in the Washington cluster who are doing virtual learning. So this is really a challenge. What all have you all been doing?
So here at the At Promise Center, we've been allowed to have 40 students in the Washington cluster come to the center Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to complete their virtual learning. We have two monitors in each classroom. We have 26 high schoolers and 14 middle schoolers from Monday through Thursday, and on Fridays the building is closed for sanitation purposes.
Explain how challenging it's been for the students who are on their iPads, on their computers. They're trying to take in all this information virtually, but not only a challenge for them, for you all too, here at the At Promise Center.
I think the biggest challenge for the youth is not having that hands-on, one-to-one in person with the teacher and then working in a smaller class environment due to the social distancing as far as with recreation time and being able to play, basketball and contact sports. It's really difficult. And as far as them staying logged in and focused on the computers at times, it could be a challenge with them just focusing and wanting to stay seated and focus with other things going around them.
How many students immediately signed up for this program? Because we do have so many parents who are trying to work and make sure that their students are getting this incredible education through the Washington cluster. So how many immediately signed up, and now you have a waiting list too?
Right, immediately when we sent the email address and the text information out to the community, we immediately had sent the email out at 11 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, we had a waiting list of already 20 people.
Wow.
And we had 40 right away that confirmed, they came in and filled out the paperwork, and now to date we have 33 still on the waiting list. But for the youth on the waiting list, we are able to refer them to the Bellwood Boys and Girls Club Monday through Fridays.
So given that information, 33 students are on this waiting list. For our viewers watching and people who are really involved with Westside Future Fund, what can we all do to make sure that these kids are getting their education virtually?
I would say it'd be great to contact the Promise Center. Someone can give us a call at area code 470-559-2053 and let us know where they want to fit in, what they need to do to help, and we definitely will get them where they need to go.
Anything else you want to add?
This has been a great opportunity for parents and the students to come in, get away from homes, out of the house, still get social distance, as well as get their educational needs met.
LaShawn Rogers, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. That was actually your personal number you shared, right?
My work cell phone number.
Your work cell?
Yes.
All right, we're going to put that work cell on the screen for you. Thank you again for all the work that you do. Thank you for the staff here at the At Promise Center. And for more information, you can check out the website for At Promise. Just go to atlantapolicefoundation.org, and also you can call that number to help out.
All right, Craig, thanks for that great video, and really lifting up the work of the At Promise Center. And you can see they have a waiting list, which is a challenge because we need more places for children to have those hotspots that Dr. Ford talked about. And I thought, and for those that are watching, in about 10 minutes, we're going to invite you to ask your questions. Our Westside correspondent, Benjamin Early, will be taking questions online. So we're going to do that in just about 10 minutes. So if you got some questions or some thoughts, get ready to do about 10 minutes. But I thought I would first come back, to Wykeisha and Sherry, and especially because I know one of the things that you do, Sherry, as a parent of injury, is you're working with other parents, not only serving your own children, but trying to help. So what are you hearing from other parents? Like what do you and Wykeisha? Wykeisha, I should say in just a second.
What I noticed, we have a digital divide in our community.
Yeah.
And the strength of Wi-Fi is kind of weak in this area, and we just have to really campaign. I partner with Comcast Essentials to ensure every household get Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Because we have so much trees in Vine City, it's hard to use a hotspot. Each household have to have a Wi-Fi box.
Yeah.
And the digital divide, we kind of behind, and we can do it by getting each household Wi-Fi.
So what you're saying is, and I know not every household
has it,
and using your cell phone as a hotspot, what you're saying don't work great because
not all the time.
Yeah.
So parents may need support to pay for the Comcast, the Wi-Fi bill.
So one thing we need to make sure of is making sure everyone has that Wi-Fi connection right at.
Yeah, it's a necessity now. Like the mom's little basic needs, it's a necessity.
And what's your reflection on that, Wykeisha? What are you hearing from the parents?
So a lot of parents, they were frustrated because a lot of the laptops was not connecting to the internet.
Yeah.
And the hotspots were going out. I actually have one that's not working myself. And I'm not sure what's the max of how many children can log on to one hotspot, but I think that's been a challenge. And me and Sherry has both been working together to try to call and check on parents to see if they're logged on. We have a Facebook parent group called Atlanta Parent Buddy, where we have almost 70 parents. And so we check on them every day throughout the day to make sure that they're connected if they need some type of help with resources or just learning how to work Zoom, because a lot of us are not tech savvy. So we check on them daily to make sure that they have what they need, because we want to make sure that all of our babies in Atlanta Public School, not just the Washington cluster, but in Atlanta Public School, is logged on. We do want to beat the odds, as I would say, because it's already put in the air that our kids are not going to do well. So we check on the parents to ensure that not going to happen.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you and sharing this. Want y'all and our future mayor, you want to tell folks a little bit about the Parent Avengers, because I know you and Sherry really lean into that. Why don't y'all tell folks a little bit about Parent Avengers?
Parent Avengers, also known as Westside Avengers, is a parent movement of superhero parents, basically a wealthy parent lifestyle. And we want parents to live well. The focus is economics, civic engagement, healthy living, cultural explosion. Those are some of the things we're focusing on. We want parents to be able to be heroes and be powerful in their community.
Yeah, you have anything to add, Wykeisha, about the Parent Avengers?
I mean, Sherry basically summed it up. We're just we're a community that looks out for each other. We're a group of parents that we support each other, and we do our best, to get whatever our parents need, And we don't have like a budget or funds or nothing. Me and Sherry are really boots on the ground, go looking for the resources and connecting our parents to who and what they need to be connected to.
So if someone's watching right now and they're like, wow, I really want to help y'all. Do y'all have a website people can go to, or people want to help you because you said, Sherry, you want to help parents be heroes. We
have a Facebook and Instagram, Parent Avengers.
Okay, Facebook and all right. So folks want to
A
help.
superhero movement, a wealthy parent lifestyle. That's us. We say avenge.
All right, avenge. Yes. And so coming back to some of what you heard, Dr. Ford, from Sherry. So talk about how APS is helping the students get connected. So.
Yeah, one thing I will say, just to piggyback off of what our parents have said, and they are just phenomenal parents. And the other thing that they do is they support the school. I know I get so much support from my parents. They, especially Ms. Sherry and Ms. Howe, call and make sure that we are aware and we can tag team together. And so one of those pieces in terms of what the challenge is for connectivity is that we're getting information from our parents about those connectivity issues that then we can go back and bring to the district and problem solve and make sure that they're aware of. But to get our parents connected and to make sure that they have the information that they need, we have videos online for Hollis in terms of how to get online. How do you get your child connected on your Google Classroom and your Zoom? We have a Zoom chat where parents can go to anytime Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. to get help, because that's generally the time where they're having trouble getting logged on. And then we also have, call our school. We have there, people there on site that can help you and direct you to the right place to get connected if you're having challenges or getting kicked off. But it's also great information too in case you're not able to connect and that Wi-Fi hotspot isn't working. Like Ms. Howe said, some of them are having problems connecting to the internet. That's information we would love to know so that we can make sure to champion that message to the district office. And
coming back just on the 20%, so how many children are enrolled at Hollis?
So we have on roll now, we're about at 720.
And you're all the way in. So how many families do you think that is?
Probably a little bit around 140, 150 parents that we're still trying to. So
150 is the number that's not connected.
Yeah, that there's either some challenge with getting connected, or they're having issues with the hotspot, or we're just trying to track down and make sure that they're okay.
So is that one literally? So so one of the things we could. It sounds like one of the things we could really, for those that are watching and want to help, is how we really ensure the parents who may not have. And we've got a lot of support from AT&T, thank you, to make sure they get connected. So that's something we still need to work on, it sounds like.
Yeah, and what I hear from Ms. Sherry is that there's some community challenges in terms of, connectivity in the community. So we really need to kind of drill down and see if it's a common location and area.
Right.
But we do know we have to make sure that about 140, 150 of our parents can get online.
Now, do you think it's similar for your other? I know, having learned last broadcast, the Booker T. Washington principals, all women, all closely collaborate. Yeah. Is it kind of the same? It's kind of running the same for them too. What's your sense?
Yeah, my sense is with my colleagues that definitely making sure that our parents are connected. There are challenges in terms of that hotspot issue again, and making sure the hotspots can connect the kids to the computer and they're not getting kicked on and off out of the Wi-Fi. And I know that the broadband, I don't know all the terminology, but that's another challenge. Like there's not a lot of
bandwidth.
There you go. Bandwidth. And so there's some challenges there. And so we're concerned because, we want our children, like Ms. Howe said, the perception, there's a digital divide. And our kids and our parents are working so hard to understand Zoom, understand all the technicalities of being online. And we don't want to create a larger gap between, the haves and the have-nots, or the students on one side of town versus the other. And our kids are amazing. They're full of grit and perseverance, and they have the ability and the capacity. And we don't want this to be something that puts another chip against them. We want them to be engaged, we want them to have access, and we want them fully participating all the time.
Well, I know we got, and that's, I think, the one thing Westside Future Fund with a lot of our partners out there, not, like we heard earlier from at Promise Center, but that's something we need to really support you, because back to a lot of these parents who can't get connected, because unfortunately, some of the issues around systemic poverty, et cetera, really accentuate that digital divide. So that's something. We'll talk about the morale of the, I'm curious about how the morale of the teachers, because I would imagine it must be so hard for the teachers.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you have babies at home, teachers have babies too.
Right.
So they have several children. I have several parents that are parents that call me that are teachers, and they say, my child is a kindergartner. She needs my assistance in navigating, and she's trying to manage being a teacher plus a mom. And so our teachers are really, having to find that balance. And this is the first time that these two worlds have ever collided. They're teaching their child and also having to be a teacher at school. And so those are some of the challenges, but they are super positive, and they are trying so hard, and they're working diligently. So shout out to all the teachers in the Washington cluster.
So in the last couple weeks, just to give people a sense, because I know the first role of a principal, which I appreciate, is to be that great instruction leader, right? Support, recruit great teachers. And so now you got to do that, but also you happen to become a whiz on technology and others. So how, just for people to get a sense of a day of a principal,
Yes.
Like, how do you tell us how you kind of what's the day like for you? A day in the life?
Well, today is going to be an interesting day. Of course, it started out early today, but usually I'm up. I get online. We have a opening meeting with our admin team to kind of look at all the things that are going well, challenges, what we need to do. And then we start going into virtual classes and checking in on kids, checking in on teachers, and saying hello and just observing instruction.
Right.
And
so you watch classrooms.
Yeah.
You're observing your teachers via Zoom and you're coaching them. Okay,
yes,
great.
Observing teachers. We have a number of meetings during the day, because Zoom after Zoom, and have meeting after meeting to just try and make sure the instructional program is tight. And so actually today, at the end of the day, we're having our second pop-up bash. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we want to invite the parents and the students.
That sounds like fun. What's a pop-up bash? Talk about that.
It is. Well, 2 weeks ago, I was here talking about our other bash, but we recognize that we need to see kids frequently, and that as instruction goes forward and rolls out, teachers have materials and resources that they want to get to kids, and that students that may have connectivity issues, we want to get them those resources, so they're going to be able to come up to the school. We have put together these major kits. We have STEM kits from Seismic ready to go home. So they
talk about what Seismic is so folks know.
Oh yeah, well, Seismic is one of our great partners that we've had since day one. That's from Georgia Tech Seismic. So they are our STEM partners. They work with us on engineering, science, math, and technology, and they have put together some kits for our kids that can participate in science experiments at home, and the teachers can walk them through it, and they have those tangible resources.
And I also know, and I think that they've agreed to take some kids for that online learning too, haven't they?
Yeah, so we're in conversations with them to see how many kids they can
And that's on the Georgia Tech campus, pretty near us.
Yes.
So
hopefully we'll be able to get our kids over there.
So Wykeisha and Sherry, are you going to be in the bash, the pop-up bash today?
Yes, I'll be at the bash with my cape on.
Sherry will.
She's got her cape on right now. Is that a cape? All right. And you'll be participating, Wykeisha, in the bash, making sure all the other parents are too?
Yes, I would just make sure parents know about it and get there. You know, I am still social distance. You know, I am trying to practice that as best. You know, I have a house full of kids, and I want to make sure everyone stay safe. So I'm most definitely going to push the word out. That's what I do. But I want to jump in and say something to Dr. Ford's point. We really have to take care of our teachers. You know, they play a critical role. I have kids, so I have a little extra layer on me because I have kids who have special needs. So my day is from, it's gonna start at 8:30 and it probably won't end until 3 because I had to make sure that my kids get their services. But I always try to keep an open line of communication to my teachers, and you know, whatever they need, please let me know, because I most definitely can say, hey, you know, we need to push for this for the teachers. They play a critical role in our kids' lives, and you know, we love them and we're praying for them as well as they are for us, because she's absolutely right. They are critical. You know, they have lives. They have a kindergarten. I have a pre-K that just started school last Monday. So I know the challenge of, you know, hey, virtual learning, and I work from home. So imagine that, virtual learning, working, you know, and navigating everybody moving from their classes. So I can only imagine what a teacher has to go through to get that done. So we got to keep our teachers lifted up.
Keep our teachers lifted up. Is there one thing you want to say about that?
Oh, I just love Ms. Howe. You know, she brings it. Thank you, Ms. Howe. Yes, it's exactly what she says. Yes, keep our teachers lifted up. They are working really hard, and they're trying to make sure that your babies are connected and getting what they need, because they definitely they have a God-given you know, charge on their life to make sure that our kids, you know, get what they need. And so they're pushing, and they go to sleep with that every night. Have they done what they needed to do to get our kids, you know, to the next level?
Well, and if any of those teachers are watching right now, thank you, because we know how hard they work. Thank you. And so, Benjamin, I think we're about ready. If folks are watching it, we'd love to hear some questions from our viewers right now. And have you had some questions come in, Benjamin?
Yeah, we got a few comments also, John. Sreelish Powell says educators are resilient and amazing. Shout out to them all. We also have Terry Wade comments, and this is Terry's first summit. So congratulations on joining us,
I met Terry early this week. Thanks for watching, Terry.
Thank you for watching. We got a question for future mayor of Atlanta, Wykeisha Howe. When you're balancing students who are at different levels, how do you devote your time?
So I am constantly running. I have children all ages, pre-K through 12th grade. And so I start with, like at 8:30, my younger kids will get on, then my high schooler, and then my middle school last. And so I just go around. I try to separate them as best as possible, but I don't have that type of space. But I do go around and try to give them a little space, and I check on everybody, especially the younger ones. But what I do know, I must do a good job with checking on my high schooler, because I see him and he say he's logged on, but I have to go and see and make sure he's logged on. So I'm constantly running from 8 to 3, but I do get breaks in between, which is really helpful, because by the end of the day, I am completely wiped out.
And we've got a question for Ms. Sherry. Question for Sherry. So what are some resources that we can contribute to the Parent Avengers to help you in your initiative?
The resources that we need are stipends for parents, because parents are essential. They're on the front line. Basically, they're teachers. So some parents have actually quit their jobs. So
they quit their job to support their children.
Children, yeah, without a stipend, without any money.
And we know that, so what you're saying
Support
is
parents.
For parents who want to, dedicate their children back to that digital divide, and what you're saying would be great is the Parent Avengers, people could contribute, because then what y'all would do is for those parents that
that's home.
At home,
they
who may
paid.
not have any income now because they stopped working, that a stipend so that they could, continue to support their family and support their children. So how can people do that? I mean, if they want to do that?
Just donate. I have an Instagram. You can call me.
They can call you, do
Yeah, 470-371-3691.
Well, maybe say that one more time, a little slower.
470.
So, yeah, 470.
371.
371.
3691.
All right. Well, that's a hotline, and future mayor, would you echo that too in terms of what the need is?
I would say the same thing. I would say stipends. Me and Sherry never talk about it. We never asked about it. But all of this we do it for free. And we do it because we love our community. We love our parents. We love our children. So we do this for free. I think any type of funds would be helpful, because we go find the resources. We've been doing this for the last 2-3 years. I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that question. And Benjamin, we have any, more questions or?
Yeah, we got one more question. Michael Thomas just asked, how do organizations in Metro Atlanta help with the Wi-Fi hotspot issue?
Yeah, maybe Dr. Ford, do you want, what you know about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I would say is we have a district office that, works diligently to make sure that our parents have the resources. I know we're still giving out computers to parents that need it, so making sure they have the device.
So do you have enough computers?
We do. We have enough computers, but then the connectivity, that may be a challenge.
So that it's not the hardware that's the issue.
No,
but the connectivity is still the issue.
Yeah, there's a few problems with our hotspots, or for parents getting connectivity or remaining on. So I would encourage them to call our district office if they have supports that they can offer. You can call me at the school at 404-802-8200, and then I can direct you to the right person to talk to at our district office if you have resources to support with the connectivity that parents are, or maybe if there's some parents that are having connectivity issues.
So do you think we handled that question, Benjamin? Is any more comments online or?
Well, that's the last one that I see right now, but they're still coming in, John. I'll let you know as soon as I get more.
So yeah, if you're watching, we really want to kind of take your question and comments. And one of the things that we also did, I don't know if we want to go ahead and cut to that right now, is that we and Benjamin, you did a pre-recorded interview and actually talked to a student, and y'all may well just do that video. But one of the things we also want to reflect, and Sherry, this is your son, so we thank you for your permission, because he's, and he's a high school. So before we watch the pre-recorded video, you want to tell us a little bit about your son?
Jordan is a online gamer, very quiet. 11th grade at Booker T. Washington High School. Good kid. He's almost out of school. So yeah, he's a good boy.
All right, a good boy. And we're about, and Benjamin, I know you did this pre-recorded video to talk, kind of hearing about how he's experienced it. I think why don't we cut to that right now and learn a bit about, from his perspective, how it's all going.
This is Benjamin Early with Westside Future Fund, and I'm joined today by Jordan Smith, who is a junior at the Booker T. Washington High School. He's also the son of one of our panelists today, Ms. Sherry Ballil. So tell us how you're dealing with the distance learning. What's some of the pros, some of the cons that you've experienced with it so far?
I'm dealing with it pretty good. Me personally, I like being online anyway because I get to work at my own pace. Even for me, you don't got to worry about being distracted. You're more locked in. But the negatives about it that most of the teachers, they don't really know how to use the technology like that, so it's kind of hard, for us to get a lot of work done, same day. But other than that, I like it. I like it better, to be honest.
Overall, how do you feel the staff over at Washington has responded to the challenge of, dealing with digital learning on the fly as a response to COVID-19?
I guess, they met the challenge at the right time. They got everything out the way, make sure everybody was safe, good, make sure we had all our work online, make sure they had little events and stuff we could go to and not a lot of people. And when the time the school started back, they made sure everybody got all their information, make sure everybody got all their classes. I think they did good. Communication been pretty good, Teachers been giving us extra time, putting in more study guides, things like that. Because, it's been a weird experience. We so used to being around each other so they can interact. But, they putting us in groups, I can't say, hey, it's been pretty good for me.
I know one of the things that most people love about high school is getting to see your friends every day. So tell me, how has distance learning sort of impacted your social life?
It's been pretty much weird. I'm used to walking down the house, see a couple of your friends, chop it up real quick, rush to class, this, that, the third, dashing through the hallway because you late to class. But now it's you been trapped inside. Then after school, you walking home, you go to the park, play basketball, something like that. But yeah, it's been pretty much weird. I kind of miss it. It's you can't get back to your life. You been doing the same thing over and over again.
Last question for you, Jordan. You are quickly approaching your senior year. Before you know it, you'll be out of high school. So what are some of your aspirations once you've graduated?
Yeah, I do plan on going to college. I'm trying to be a pilot, airline pilot. Probably try to go to Delaware. I heard they got a good pilot program. And, that's what I'm looking forward to in my life. Trying to achieve my goal, get my grades up. Thank God for distance learning, because, it's helping me stay more focused. I'm more locked in, so my grades only getting better.
Jordan Smith, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and good luck with everything in your future.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like a good boy, all right.
Yeah.
Did I hear he wants to be a pilot?
Yeah, he's the quietest son. My quietest child, actually.
Yeah. Well, one of the things coming in, and I was reflecting, because we heard earlier about the digital divide, and the digital divide is the result of an economic divide, and unfortunately, the city of Atlanta, which is such a prosperous city, there's a lot of income disparity that goes back to all the way some of the injustices of our country, certainly being brought out by COVID and the social justice movement, and all the way back to slavery, but one of the things I've come to appreciate, because often on the West Side, it's often referred to as low income. And when you hear the word low income, you may, but it's really what I've come to really appreciate is low wage. Because a lot of the folks that work on the West Side, they're working, as you've heard Sherry and Wykeisha talk about and others, but they're working for very low wage jobs. The minimum wage in the state of Georgia is $7.25 an hour. So if you're working full-time minimum wage, you're making $13,000, which is half the federal poverty rate, half. So the digital divide is a result of an economic divide, and a lot of these folks on the West Side are working very hard, but for low-wage jobs, and often the jobs that that are serving others. And so one of the things we heard about, because I have friends, their families, and maybe they're, one of the parents can afford not to work, and we've heard some of the folks here with the low wage, one of them not working, that's the real challenge. And that results in some of these consequences. But it's not because, as we've heard, and what I appreciate, not that folks aren't working hard, want to care for their children. And one of the things that you wanted to mention is, back to helping incentivize parents. Boy, we all respond to incentives.
Yes.
But talk about, I know you wanted to mention something especially around that.
Yeah, so what we're doing at Hollis is we recognize that getting your students online and managing all your kids and being online and keeping them engaged and in attendance is really a gift that we need, or a recognition we need to give to our parents, because it really is them that's doing that work. So we have 3 gift cards that we want to give away to our parents whose students have been online all of this week, which was Monday, August 31st to today, Friday.
Am I eligible?
Well, you don't have a child.
No, it's a
in
joke.
Hollis.
I don't know. So to be all, you're a parent, is gift card?
You have to be a parent at Hollis, and your child had to be in attendance from Monday through Friday online. And so we're giving that out to just incentivize the parents that have been very consistent in getting their kids on. And we're going to be pulling those names randomly, one child from pre-K through 2nd, another child's name from 3rd through 5th, and another child from 6th through 8th. And we're going to have those parents come up and get their gift card. And we want to do that regularly because we understand that there are needs, and we also want to say shout out to our parents for all their great work, because they work so hard.
And I think, back in, I was, reflecting when my daughters are, one's all the way through college and the other one's her senior year, but I incentivized them, had this thing called allowance, and said, okay, your allowance, but you got to have good grades if you don't have good grades, but nothing, incentives work for all of us. Well, and I just tell you, and I don't know if anyone's watching the broadcast, Benjamin, but the 20% are not connected. So I know we've gotten a lot of great support from AT&T. We've had AT&T's leader for Georgia on our summit, Vanessa, and they have been lifting up Westside entrepreneurs. They've been giving a lot of smartphones. And if folks are watching this and have ideas about this 20% that are not connected.
Yes, we need to get from 80% to 100%.
So
being consistent online. That's our goal.
We got to incentivize ourselves. So we want to be able to say and I'm thinking all of us, back to the story of Nehemiah, we want to make sure that all the families in the Booker T. Washington cluster, are connected, because in the great city of Atlanta, we have a lot of bandwidth. That's one of the things I know, I've learned. So, Benjamin, is anyone coming in the broadcast with ideas about how we could help these other 20% of families get connected? Is anyone coming in and say, I got a way to help solve that problem? Anything coming online?
Actually, John, we have people asking how can they support, essentially. Most Valuable Kids of Greater Atlanta just posted, what do students need? School supplies, snacks, ?
Yeah. Well, okay, that's a great question. So what do students need? Student supplies?
Yeah. So today, actually from 1 to 3 o'clock, thanks to the generosity of partnership support, this is an example of how partners have been so helpful that we can actually pull off this second bash. We had one 2 weeks ago, but now we are able to give every child an iReady workbook that is going to be helping them with shoring up some of their skills that they may have lost during the summer or during that COVID slide. So we have some iReady workbooks that we're going to be giving out. We also have our STEM Scopes books, our STEM resources and experimental kits going home. And we just have a plethora of things to give away. So those are some of the things that we have received in that we're now turning back out into the school. So Westside Future Fund has been so helpful. We have resources from Mercedes-Benz that has given a lot of teacher material so our teachers can have dry erase boards at home, that our students can have dry erase boards themselves, and they can duplicate what they see, because we know that they have to be engaged. And so when we have kids that are not able to get online, we've been able to provide them these workbooks because we don't want them not to have any instruction. Right. So the teachers are engaging them via phone, just making sure that they're, getting that information. But resources and materials have been, we've got a great amount that we're sending out now. What we are looking for in terms of resources and supplies is we really are trying to funnel those supports now to our parents, because we understand as a school is not just the students now that we have to support and provide incentives and give resources. We need to give some things to our parents now. So our kids have all the stuff that they need. We now need to kind of focus on how do we support and incentivize our parents. So those are the resources that we're really seeking.
And for those that want to help, because one of the things maybe talk a little bit about is the Westside Future Fund. We have a memorandum of a partnership with the Atlanta Public School System. We started that partnership with the Hollis Innovation Academy, and what we do do is we get behind your vision. We say, what kind of support do you need? And so thanks to a lot of charitable support, you know, we've been able to raise funds that help underwrite more teachers in your classrooms, others. But we've now expanded that support to include Booker T. Washington High School and others. So one thing, back to the charity part of it, is that, you know, the Westside Future Fund, we're a 501c3, but we partner with the schools and work closely. Our Chief Development Officer, Crystal Williams, out there. Because one thing we do, because we know you're full-time trying to teach and raise children, we want to get out there and help raise money to support your and the other Booker T. Washington and the Parent Avengers. So if folks are watching and want to help, you know, we need charitable contributions. So you can go to the Westside Future Fund website. You can make a contribution. You can direct it on our website. You can make sure your donation is going to your donor intent, which we want to absolutely honor. And so we want to support the Booker T. Washington, because what we've heard in this broadcast is that we need charity to help, you know, with parents who have quit their jobs and are trying to teach their children. We need incentives for parents to get connected. So back to we love the supplies and all that, but we would love just flat out donations, checks,
our
contribute.
Students have been well taken care of. We have supports from Peachtree Roads United Methodist Church. Our children have gotten so many resources, and now we recognize that, you know, we need to say shout out to parents, because they are working hard. We see them in the camera helping their kids. They are online. I mean, when I say shout out to our parents in the Washington cluster, they are really coming through. And I think we're all ticking around the same attendance rate. And so we know we have a hub of parents that we've got to engage. That we need to get them involved. We need to find out, is it a hotspot? Is it a laptop? Is it, you know, you're challenged with something? We just need to incentivize and get them engaged into our world, our virtual world.
And Benjamin, our Westside correspondent, any more questions or comments? Just checking in with our online viewers.
Yeah, John, we just got one more from Christina Britt. She just said that she would love to discuss a partnership with Westside Future Fund and UGA's Elitary through a potential service learning project.
Okay, we'll say that a person. We want to make sure we follow up on that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Christina Britt.
Christina Britt, thank you. And so one of the things I would just reflect on is that back to that digital divide. You know, Atlanta we're blessed with so many resources that it's now the beginning of September. So I think by the time we come back to the beginning of October, I think we want to say we pretty much solved for that. I think that we want to, and hopefully everyone that's watching, we kind of got to lean into this challenge about how we ensure that all the families are connected, and back to ensuring that the families have the resources they need to support their children with the online learning. And so you've been watching this, you know, I know future mayor, Ms. Howe, from home, you know, so many kind of reflection and comments from you about how people can help. I mean, I know you've talked a little bit about that, but any more thoughts for us?
I think too, because Dr. Ford just said Hollis has a lot of resources. Donating to the other schools, we have Emat Jean, we have Tuskegee, whoop whoop, Miss Wings, I love you. We have Dr. Young over at Washington, and we have Brown. So we do have other schools, and I know they may have some resources as well. But please reach out to those schools and support them as well. I think partnering with those schools can really help lift up the burden, because the school only have a certain amount in their budget. I'm an ex-Go team member, so you know they only have a certain amount, and I know that there are other needs that's needed. I like the whole snack idea, you know, getting parents some snacks, you know, because the school is offering some food, but I don't know how many people are really going to get that, because we are constantly online. So whether they have time to go do that could be another thing. But I like the idea of donating some snacks to parents, but reaching out to the other school and partnering with them, partnering with parents. Parents are key, you know, keeping them in the forefront, making sure that you have a good relationship with them. That's what help uplift our babies and, you know, help them flourish and be successful in school.
Yeah, and I know in one of the, you know, I served on a school board, it's Decatur City School, where my children went all the way through, and we know, you know, back to parent engagement, and that's really what you and the Parent Avengers are doing, is supporting that parent engagement. But part of this divide issue means that, you know, some of those parents may be working 2 jobs, and working really hard. And if you're working 2 jobs and others, as you're trying to, deliver for your family, right? That's part of part of what we're trying to solve for here, right?
Yes.
And one of the things I was just reflecting on, and maybe people who are, especially some of our viewers, don't know Dr. Ford, is that nearly 100% of the children in the Booker T. Washington cluster are what the federal government would qualify as low income.
Correct.
Back to that divide issue. And so 100%, you go to another cluster in our city, not too far away, example, the Grady cluster, it's almost kind of the inverse.
Right.
A low percent of the kids. And back to some of the place-based inequities, that zip code can become destiny, unfortunately. And that's one of the things we're working so hard to turn around. I was actually online this morning getting ready for the broadcast, and the Russell Center had a quote that said, genius is distributed equally, right? That meaning, we're all gifted by God, and some of the economic challenges that are just a result of where you're born and growing up, and that stuff we're really trying to lean to. And we heard about, because a lot of the children and their families, get supported via the school system to have lunch and breakfast. So talk about how y'all doing that right now.
So the district is providing food service and distribution, in which the parents do have to order food the week before. So we go online every Monday, and I know all of our schools within the cluster, you heard some of our principals from last week, 2 weeks ago, talking about that. We try and ensure that the parents that really need food support know to go online, and that's another thing, walking them through to get online and order their food so that the following week they can pick up those food items and have them for the following week.
Yeah, because one of the things we know, right, is you don't learn well if you're hungry.
That's right.
Because your brain's got to be, and the brain, one of the things I've learned, the brain consumes a lot of calories.
That's right.
So, a well-fed family is a family that can learn. Right. All right. And any more questions or comments from our online viewers? Just making sure we want to capture folks that are coming online, Benjamin.
Yes, John. Terry Wade just said, I can coordinate parents from the North Atlanta cluster to support needs.
All right, well, we want to make sure we know how to get back in touch with Terry, because that's really, thank you, because that's what neighbor helping neighbor.
Yes.
So say that, let's say that again.
So Terry is a part of Terry says, I can coordinate parents from the North Atlanta cluster to support needs. Who should I work with to help close the digital divide for our students and their families?
Well, we'll figure that out, but Terry, quick answer your question would be, we'll start with me and making sure it gets followed up on, and I got a whole team. We'll follow up with you, Terry. Thank you for that.
I think Ms. Sherry was saying something about
I said, as far as digital divide, we need to work with Comcast, advocate, get them to
and Comcast
stretch
and
the broadband in the West Side.
And I glanced over at my phone, and Sylvia Russell, who used to be with AT&T and works still real closely with AT&T, I know that they really want to lean into the digital divide issue. And so Sylvia, if you're watching right now, one of the things we could probably follow up with is with AT&T. And one of the things I actually appreciate with the Westside Future Fund is with our multifamilies coming online, we're ensuring, and thanks to AT&T, that we have broadband right to our multifamilies, so that Wi-Fi, then all the multifamilies that we're bringing online have that, high-speed connectivity. And so, that's something I think over the next month we really need to problem solve against, because there's no, Atlanta has the resources, so the fact that it's not getting done is something we can figure out. I'm confident. So if you're watching and, about how we can get connected, we're going to follow more on that. So, back to as you think about, other resources, 'cause I think a lot of people are watching this saying, like I am, bothered that in a city that has so many resources that this is happening. So other ways, that people that are watching Dr. Ford can really help.
So I think that one of the things is that I do want to elevate is that, the need for computers, we have those. The challenges with the hotspots is one of our most imminent challenges right now in terms of consistently getting that high-speed internet and keeping kids online and things like that. Ms. Sherry, one of our parents, is clearly having some challenges, and Ms. Howe has also experienced some. So we're aware of those things, and we want to kind of solve it. But the major challenges that we want to try and address now is that we know that we have parents at home that are being teachers as well and parents. And so we don't want to leave the day without saying, parents, we recognize you, and then job well done, because after a while you can be disheartened that nobody recognizes all the things that you're doing. So I know in the Washington cluster was close to our heart, and we recognize it because we saw it for the first 2 weeks of school. Our parents are so involved and engaged, and we just want to keep that fire burning. But we do know we have a group of students that we still need to get online, and we need to figure out, what is it? Is it your laptop is not working? Is it you can't get online? What do you need? And so if you have not received a call from your school, then it's probably a phone number issue. Call your school so that you can get connected. I know Hollis's number is 404-802-8200. Please check online for the school numbers for Brown, Washington High School, MAJ, and TAG, so that you can make sure to get connected, because they want you online. I can speak for all of the Washington Cluster principals. They need you online.
And one of the things I was just reflecting on, working with all of y'all, is when the Westside Future Fund, we initially went out and raised charitable funds to support the schools. We got, the principals said what they need, and we got a lot of great support from some of Atlanta's leading corporations, Truist and Coca-Cola and other, obviously Chick-fil-A and others to support. But at the time we put it all together, we didn't have COVID.
No.
And this is one of the things I was just thinking about, is that we probably really need to, Dr. Ford, because when we sat down with you, so what do you need? You said my top first need was extra teachers.
That's right.
And then you said, some financial, raising charitable funds to help, teach teachers how to teach better and work with CMEC and others. But this wasn't going on.
No.
But if it were going on now, I'm very confident that Booker T. Washington, you would say what we need is what you just said. So we need to raise charitable funds to help incentivize parents. We need to raise charitable funds to solve for that digital divide. And it sounds like we need to raise charitable funds to support our parent avengers and for those parents that are behind. So that's something that I think, and some of my board of directors is watching, that I think we ought to be thinking, that's part of what we want to do.
Yeah.
And when we raise funds coming through the Westside Future Fund, we put it right back out to the schools. So we just want to be a conduit in making, because back to fundraising is another. And we also have, for those that are watching, the Westside Volunteer Corps. So if you want to volunteer, and we've gotten great, and you heard earlier about Mercedes-Benz, and we're going to talk, about some of the other, corporations that have been, supporting our Westside Volunteer Corps with a lot of, and you can go online and volunteer too to support the schools. But we're going to just wrap up this segment in a second, talk about more on the harm of the Westside, because one of the things we know for folks that are watching is that, back to the low wage, yay to home ownership. We want to support more folks becoming homeowners, but most of the residents in the Westside are renters, because and often that rental stock, and we're going to talk about that in a second, trying to shift that, but it's very low quality, and it's back to some of these issues we're trying to address that are the result of kind of where families are born. So any final thoughts for viewers, and I'm going to come to each of y'all to kind of for a wrap up comment, and maybe I'll start with you, Sherry. Any wrap up comments for viewers? Anything you want to really make sure people hear and know?
Parents on the front line, we're essential.
Parents on the front line. And I know you got your cape on.
Yeah.
You and I, we talk a lot about superheroes. We
I
believe
love
in
Marvel.
heroes. You love Marvel movies. And who's your favorite superhero?
I like Shuri from
Why?
the Black Panther.
You want to tell us why?
She's a technology, and it comes in the time where we at. She a genius.
Yeah.
Gets a lot done.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, that's me.
You do that too.
That's me.
And what about you, future mayor? You got some final words?
First of all, my favorite person is Storm, because Storm, I'm bringing a storm when I come.
You do. I think we will all around here agree with that.
But I do have some final words I do want to share. I want to say that as parents, we're not waiting on anybody. And one thing that me and Sherry has been doing, when the pandemic first happened, a lot of parents lost their job, as your stack showed, in the hospitality industry. And so a lot of our parents tried to apply for unemployment, and still to this day, we have parents that have yet to receive that. And so with that being said, me and Sherry got together, put our heads together and said, we got to do something. And we talked to our parents, and we got about 9 parents to start their own business. And so I'm a small business owner myself, along with others. So that's another thing, another layer that we try to do just to help each other, because we know that there's a huge number of people in Georgia just waiting to be evicted, and there's resources out there, but they're not getting to the people that really need it. And so me and Sherry really lean on each other to make sure that whatever our parents needed, resources, we go out and we connect with CEOs and founders in many different places to make sure we're helping our parents. So when you talk about economically, we try our best to do our best to ensure that our parents and their families have what they need in order for the child to be successful. So I just want to close with that.
Well, and I thank you, and back to you are, Storm, because you're taking the time to educate your own children, and then you're taking the time to advocate for your other parents, and you're taking the time to storm out there and champion on behalf of the community that I know that you both love so much. So thanks to you both. And any final kind of thoughts or words for folks, Dr. Ford?
Yes, make sure for Hollis, come out today. For our Hollis parents, please come out today between 1 and 3. And again, shout out to all our partners that have supported us to get to this point, to be able to give out yet another round of resources to help continue to move our virtual instruction forward. But just in the term of a wrap up, we are one cluster, one family. I represent one of several schools that are in the cluster that are also in need of resources, materials, and supplies. So although Hollis may not need them, to Ms. Howe's point, there are so many other schools within our cluster that would love to be able to offer our kids additional resources to encourage and move their instructional program forward. So
and to make it easy for folks, if they come to the Westside Future Fund, we can route that just for simplicity. But you want to quickly say the other schools. We just want to honor all the one cluster, one family.
One cluster, one family. So we have Dr. Coaxum Young, who is at the Booker T. Washington High School. We also have Miss Tiana Crooms, who is the principal of Brown Middle School. We have Miss Yolanda Weems, who's the principal of Tuskegee Airmen Global Academy, and we have Dr. Woolfolk, who's the principal of the only STEM certified school in the district, who is the principal at MAJ Elementary School. So we have a superhero set of female principals in the Washington cluster.
Now, do you have, on the theme of heroes, do you have a favorite superhero?
Wakanda Forever, yes.
All right.
Bozeman, yes, as the Black Panther.
All right, well, I want to just thank y'all for being on here, and I'm just reflecting. I want to be able to come back in our first summit in October and say that 80% is
100%.
That's because there's no reason we can't get that done in this great city, and we got a lot of charitable hearts out there, I know, and a lot of resources. And I want to thank y'all for being on the broadcast this morning. I want to thank our live viewers that came on, and I appreciate so much. Wykeisha and Sherry, how hard y'all advocate for your families and for all the folks on the West Side. So thank y'all. And for those that are watching, we got about 15 more minutes of our live broadcast, and we're gonna shift. And I feel like y'all, let's clap for these folks. Let's give them a little round as we kind of transition our program. Because we're not with the big audience that you heard the crew clapping. But for our next part of our broadcast, we're going to talk about, and we've been talking about the last few broadcasts, home on the West Side. And one of the roles of the Westside Future Fund is, as we engage holistically across the historic neighborhoods on the West Side. We're a place-based initiative, and we're engaged across 4 impact strategies with a lot of different partners. I can't always, there's so many folks working collectively together, and our impact strategies, our public safety, improving the safety of the community, and we've got a great lead on that in the Atlanta Police Foundation. Health and wellness, and health and wellness includes, healthcare clinics like the Good Samaritan, the Yancey Clinic, and a Mercy Care are 2 of our partners, but also includes healthy green space. So, early online, the leader of Georgia Trust Public Land which did the lead on Cook Park, will be coming online soon. But Katherine Johnson Memorial Park, another great park. I was actually talking about that yesterday with some folks on the west side, done by Park Pride. So part of the health is also having healthy places. I saw a lot of, I live near the school, and I saw all the folks out exercising in the park yesterday afternoon. That was great to see. And then we have another impact partner on Cradle to Career Education. That's what we've been talking about today. So Cradle is high quality learning. And we appreciate, the YMCA does a lot of great work there. And obviously, K through 12 is led by our Booker T. Washington principals. And back to the career part is, and often doing, job training, skill-based training. Arthur and Blank Family Foundation, thank you, a big investor in Westside Works. So folks can get, better training, better jobs, working at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but other jobs as well. And then the one that we really are leaning hard into, along with other partners, is back to that mixed income. Because one of the things we learned through the work of the Westside Future Fund, when I first started, the community said, the neighborhoods that depopulated, the neighborhoods we're focused on, had 50,000 folks living in them in 1960, mixed income, but for the wrong reason. Segregation and Jim Crow, overwhelmingly African American, so the doctors, kind of the higher wage, live with the lower wage, so to speak. The neighborhoods have depopulated, so there's room for people to come back in, but what we don't want to have happen is people are coming back up and pushing those land prices up, is that people get displaced. And that's often referred to as gentrification. But we do want more people moving in, but just not at the expense of, so to speak, people that are already here. Back to that story of Nehemiah. And so one of the programs we've launched into the Westside Future Fund is Home on the West Side. And through Home on the West Side, we have our anti-displacement tax fund for long-term homeowners that have been here, but also going out there raising public and charitable funds to go out there and get high-quality multifamily. And so one of the things we want to lift up is some of the new product we're bringing online, actually thanks to a partnership with City of Refuge. But I think I want to go to a pre-recorded video because we talked in our last broadcast about some of the stuff we're bringing online. Now we got some families where we're making a difference, and want to say thank you to so many donors that are helping enable this to happen. So let's cut to that pre-recorded video.
This is Benjamin Early with Westside Future Fund. I just finished volunteering over at 970 Jefferson Street for the weekly food distribution. Now I'm here at the 1300 Mason Turner. And I'm going to be speaking to Najla Madioun, who is the most recent Home on the West Side participant to be approved for a brand new unit here at the 1300. So let's get into it.
So Najla, I understand that you have very deep family roots on the West Side. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so it all got started with the slave girl named Nellie, who had a granddaughter named Annie, who took in a husband and moved to Pittsburgh, Atlanta community. And her husband passed, and she ended up purchasing a house on the northwest side of Atlanta around 1939. And she had children, one of her children named Belle. There was Alma, Minnie, and Belle. I believe my Aunt Belle had a son named James Madison Daniel, who took in my grandmother as a wife, Louise Daniel. These two people were very devoted to their community on the west side, my grandparents. My grandfather went to a historically black high school that was Booker T. He was also a teacher, and he also was with the NAACP. He went to past schools, to talk to civil rights leaders. And my grandmother was a paraprofessional, at A.F. Hurton, I believe the name of it was. And, they had 10 children. And out of their 10 children, I believe 6 of them ended up, either giving more than one acceptance letters to the HBCUs or going to our HBCUs. My grandfather, he even has a historical picture of Westside Kroger's, that has been there for over 20 years. And, so it all got started with them. And I want to be here in this area as well so that I can give my children the same opportunity, to be involved like I was with the National Black Arts Festival or the YMCA over on Ollie, or even if we used to have fun in summer school, when I was growing up, fun school, we would go and do many activities. So, the list is endless. Always on the West Side, they have so many things to offer for their community, always have. And they invest in their community. And I want to invest, eventually, like my grandparents did, to leave a legacy, of teaching. I would love to do that. and I feel home now.
So what was most difficult about your living situation prior to being approved for a new unit here?
The most difficult thing, just not having my own and having little ones look up to me. You know, I'm supposed to be their provider. You know, the parents are supposed to do for the children. So that was really the most frustrating thing. Is, you know, you don't know how much they can bring a parent down. You know, not being able to provide simple essentials like that. You know, for their children. And the bus. My children did not like that, you know, rainy days, you know, so it really humbled me, you know, and it just humbled me, you know, to do those things. It teaches you, you know, just to be grateful, you know, for the things that you have when you're in those situations.
So tell me, how do you envision being a Home on the Westside participant having a lasting impact on your children's lives?
The fact that the program is so essential for me, I'm able to take the finances that I have and invest them in my children. I'm able to save for them to have a future, you know, because you will want a home at some point, you know, in life. So gradually, you know, I strive to get towards that goal. That's the second goal. We've got this, now we want to move here, and the program is so helpful that it will allow us to do that.
So Najla, what more do you feel we as a Westside community can do to better support people who are neglected or underserved?
I think that we should continue doing what we are doing, because if you take a look back, there weren't maybe so many people involved, and now we have all these helping hands who are putting things together, you know. So I feel like if we just stand as a whole community and keep doing what we're doing, then we'll keep changing lives, because all we're doing is promoting positivity for, you know, all of the people here who reside in our area. So I think that we should just continue to grow, continue to just help, educate, and build.
All right, Najla, so what about living at the 1300 are you looking forward to the most?
I would have to say just being in the area, even though I was pretty much like going back and forth, you know, at the time, I was able to find employment here, you know, in the Atlanta area with Hilton. So the thing that I'm looking forward to is just being right here in my own home that I call mine, right next to everything, right next to everybody. That's one thing that really makes me happy. The children's school, my job, and my family. Those are the necessities that I look forward to.
Awesome.
Welcome to your home, guys. Isn't this beautiful, Nigel? And this is her first time ever seeing it. She didn't even know what she was going to walk into. I told her, just trust me, and I got her. Oh my God, this is so good.
Brand new.
Everything brand new.
Brand new.
And a walking clock. Oh my goodness. This is beautiful. I am so happy, and God is so good. He is so good. Oh God. She might should board work. She might be a little hard, right? I know it's been a long road, but we made it. We made it. I know it's been hard, and we made it.
I mean, love that quote. God is so good. And thank you. And through our Home on the Westside program, our community retention guidelines, so folks that go to the front of the line, so to speak, are those that have, you know, are from the community, live in the community, have children in the Booker T. Washington cluster, those that work in the neighborhoods, or those that graduate from Booker T. Washington High School or graduate from the Atlanta University schools, Morehouse and Spelman, Clark Atlanta University. So that's the prioritization, which is kind of honoring back to the Westside Land Use Framework Plan, the wishes of the community in terms of as the community repopulates, which we want, ensuring folks that can stay, you know, go through. So if you are interested in that, and so exciting to see that, you know, you can go to our website, for Home on the West Side to apply, and we want folks to apply and get qualified. But for this part of our broadcast too, I said in the beginning, we're going to have a gift certificate from the Home Depot, and we've got a winner that came in through via text. I can announce today's winner. It's very exciting. Donna Stevens, and she's with the Proctor Creek Stewardship Council. She's the co-chair back to Health and Wellness, so thank you for your leadership there. Donna Stevens, you're a Home Depot, and you'll be receiving this Home Depot gift card. Be following up, so thank you, and thank you to the Home Depot Foundation. And I should say back to Home on the West Side, some of Atlanta's leading corporations are big investors in Home on the West Side. We have the Home Depot, we have Chick-fil-A, we have Delta Airlines, we have the Coca-Cola Company, we have Cox Enterprise, we have Truist, and some of our lead investors. We had some great coverage in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We're rolling out our Home on the West Side program, and so we're out there and back to that charity. We continue to raise charitable funds. But we're putting that money right out the door for the kind of housing you see right there. So we would love to have charitable support for our Home on the West Side program. You can go to our website to support that program. But back to COVID and back to the great work of some of our community health-based clinics. And there are 3 that have especially really engaged on the West Side. There's Mercy Care that has a clinic right out of the City of Refuge. There is the Grady Healthcare backed Yancey Clinic over at the Bankhead MARTA station. They do a great job. And we also have, right off of Don Lee Howe, the Good Samaritan Health Center, and not-for-profit. And all of these health clinics, they're leaders, and I've been so inspired by working with all of them because they're working so hard in COVID, and we wanted to kind of, come back to that and do another pre-recorded video talking a lot of the great work of our healthcare partner, Good Samaritan. So we're going to cut to that video right now and then come back to close out our live broadcast. But now we're about to learn more about the Good Samaritan Health Center. The Good Samaritan Health Center is on the West Side, been serving the West Side, and I really want to thank Veronica Squires. Veronica Squires and her leadership team have been awesome in getting out the facts and setting up service to this community, because what we're focused on, is how we're taking care of our neighbors on the West Side.
It's been such a privilege to have the opportunity to work with John Amen and his team with the Westside Future Fund. I have just really personally appreciated the connectedness that he's had with our health clinic and really just being available to understand what's going on with the COVID pandemic and then help us amplify those messages into the community.
Good Samaritan is a community health center here in the West Side with the mission of spreading Christ's love through quality health care to those in need. And we're doing what we've always done, which is we're here and we're staying open for this community. The best thing you can do to keep yourself healthy and your family healthy, and particularly those who are older or have health problems, is by staying home.
John has just been a great partner with his team, whether it be the importance of wearing masks or practicing social distancing, or even getting information out about our helpline and COVID rapid tests that are available here on site.
So you really want to serve those that might not have a primary care physician, is that right?
Yep, if you're a patient here or if you're in the community and you're like, I don't know who I would call, we're here to take your calls too.
So you really want to serve your neighbors on the West Side with that phone number.
And again, this is for your concerns, you have general questions. If you are unable to breathe or struggling to breathe, then your number is 911.
I've just been so impressed by that, but then I think even more so than the actual tangible things that have been provided to the community is the way that the Westside Future Fund has gone about the thoughtfulness with which they do their work and thinking about the moment in time and this moment in history that we're living in and how all of this work matters for a larger picture and a larger story. I think the Westside Future Fund just does a great job of honoring that and speaking into it, which it's one thing to be a great, productive, high-functioning nonprofit. It's another thing to be an organization that is going to transform the way that people think about the world. It's really a privilege to be a partner.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you for the kind words, Veronica, because doing the work has transformed the way I think, and back to exercising that compassion muscle. And so I just want, as we close out our live broadcast, want to thank thank everyone. And what I often reflect on is there's so many people involved, so many organizations, that I just can't mention all their names. And I was actually thinking about the housing, all the great work that's being done by Quest Communities, led by Leonard Adams. So, thank you as we really lean into high quality, affordable housing. And so we're closing our broadcast. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll be talking about innovation with some great not-for-profit partners, because in this moment we really need to be innovative. But thank you for watching our live broadcast. We got a closeout video, really a prayer for our teachers. And you heard about in our broadcast how hard they're all working. So thank you for watching, and stay safe. And I hope you come back and tune in again in 2 weeks.